FNCS Grand Finals is just a few days away, so it's time to look at what is going to happen and who is going to win. I asked in a whole load of different places, including the players themselves, so let's see what everyone had to say. I started with Twitter. I asked my followers who they thought would win the EU Grand Finals. 39 different teams were mentioned in the replies, plus a few others that aren't in the final, like Resub, Archie, Mongrel and Tifu. Well, at least Archie plays Comp Fortnite, even if the others don't. Here are the overall results though. Tayson and Chapix were mentioned the most times, but they were extremely closely followed by possible back-to-back champions Hen and Queasy. We also had some surprising teams like Eclipse and Norxie in there. No offense to them, but that might be more of a reflection of the fan bases than an accurate prediction. Tayson is a 4-time FNCS champion, the most on EU. He has 2 solo titles and 2 in trios. He has been considered the best player in the world by many for around 2 years now, so it's no surprise that he, along with Chapix, are a very popular prediction. Chapix has 2 titles himself in trios, and absolutely has the achievements and longevity to be considered amongst the best ever. They are going to be landing at the new Collider POI, where they'll have some company, but with the layout of the area and the amount of loot, this may not be a bad thing, and could actually work to their advantage with surge and easy rotations. I think a lot will depend on whether any of the other teams at the Collider end up compromising their early game a lot. If not, they'll have everything they need to win Grands. I then turned to Twitch, where I discussed the final together with my chat, including looking at an early version of the drop map. People are excited about what will happen with Benji, Tayson and Vico at the Collider, and also how many of the great teams at Command Cavern will be able to have a good tournament. A few teams might move around, but this map should be accurate for where most teams are going, at least in Game 1 of the finals. If you remember back a couple of months, I actually made a video on the best duos going into this season, giving my thoughts on many teams, and in that video I named Seti and Cammy as my prediction to win. But although I think they're fully capable of winning, and Twitch picked them, they are not going to be my choice anymore for this weekend. The only reason for that is because their drop spot has been compromised slightly by Kefi and Mordi, who are landing just to the north of them, in an area that they would sometimes have had to themselves. Although mid-map position is extremely valuable, I think that their looting situation now moves me slightly away from them. I wouldn't be surprised if they overcome it, but I'm not going for them for my final pick. Now let's see the opinions of some of the players themselves. A few of them replied to my original tweets, such as Cookie and Norxie, who both put themselves forwards as potential winners. It's great to see the confidence and ambition from some of the less clouted players in the lobby, and in Fortnite, you never know what could happen. Queasy preferred to mention that Hellfire and Scram have a bit of an insane situation with uncontested Greasy, while it seems that his own mindset is to have low expectations of himself to take the pressure off and just see what happens. Talking of Hellfire, he is a little worried that they might get focused if they have the only car in the lobby, but I think it will be a decent advantage even if they can't keep it through to the endgame. Vino exhibited ultimate confidence, guaranteeing that Aqua and him will win at least 4 games and the whole tournament, despite being quite contested over at Command Cavern. They're probably planning to dominate the opposition off spawn and get control of the vault card in many games. Personally, I think the off spawn situation is too messy for them to actually win the whole thing, but don't be surprised to see them win a couple of games. Fan favourite Mr Savage was understandably cautious about his chances with Benji Fishy, as the Collider situation is hard to read, and we'll have to wait until the games get going to see what actually happens there and where each team ends up landing. I don't really see them as potential winners, to be honest, but they could finish anywhere from the top 10 probably down to the bottom 10. Moustache was immediately confident, shooting straight for the win, while his teammate Malabuka was understandably cagey about what might happen off spawn at Command Cavern, but also has the confidence that they can win. My opinion on them is that if they get their off spawn right, then they absolutely have the ability to win the whole tournament, and that will depend on whether they can carve out some advantageous situations against the other teams at their drop spot. And now some more faces you'll see this weekend are the analysts on the broadcast. Here's a few early takes from them. Somebody's Gone continues with the Moustache and Malabuka theme, while new broadcast analyst Mini Miner is saying Tayson and Chapix for now. Shy Wager thinks that there will be too much mess at Collider and Cavern, and someone else will take it, with Seti and Cammy being the standout team for him. As we know, humans are flawed, but machines never fail. So enough of the humans, and let's see what my tournament simulator program had to say about this grand final. This is a Python program I wrote that you might have seen on my streams or in a previous video, and it generates realistic tournament results and kill feeds. I put in the 50 teams and their drop spots, and this is the final result that the randomness of Fortnite and computers gave back to me, with Hen and Queasy winning it by a long way. There was of course the odd hilarious death to fall damage, and at one point Janice even managed to get a double pickaxe kill on Flois and Mappy. Imagine if that computer prediction actually came true. But let's talk more about Hen and Queasy now. They are of course the reigning FNCS champions, with a memorable solo clutch from Hen to close out the tournament. The end of last season into the beginning of this one was absolutely spectacular from them, with 3 Duo Cash Cup wins and of course the Grand Finals. But the removal of cars has coincided with a little drop in results, and I don't think this is just a coincidence. The edge map locations are expected to suffer more with less rotation in the game, so their drop into North Sleepy can be troublesome without the right zones. Maybe this time the computer decided that all the zones would be in the north for the simulation though. I think that they'll be up there amongst the top teams, but I'm not predicting them to go back to back. Going back to the tournament simulation that I ran, we had Hen and Queasy winning the first time I ran it, but the wonderful thing about a computer program is that you can run it as many times as you want. So I ran it 100 times and looked at who won the tournament each time. The computer said that Tayson and Chapix win 24% of the time, with Seti and Cami next, and Hen and Queasy actually in third. How about me? Well, my overall thought on the final is that it might be the most open one that we've had for a long time. There are at least 10 duos who I think have a good chance to win, and another 10 who I wouldn't be surprised by either. Some that haven't been mentioned include Pink Anas, Janice Vortex, Vidil Noah, and Thomas Trippen, most of whom are all going to Command Cavern. And with most of these best teams at least partially contested at this FNCS, this does have the potential to go to an outsider. However, I'm going to predict the team whose stock is rising massively right now, Hellfire and Scram. With uncontested Greasy, they have a crazy drop spot situation with a huge 33 chests to themselves, but that's not the best part. There's also a bot that you can pay to see the next zone, and most importantly a Lambo in the garage. Although cars were removed from the map, this one inexplicably wasn't. While other teams will be running along, using up half their materials and heals rotating into each zone, they'll be able to drive straight into center zone and use very little of anything, theoretically at least. Every game they will have ultimate loot, resources and position into the mid game, and usually this can snowball into a great end game. Consistency is key in these final lobbies, and with their setup into the end game and their low ground playstyle, they should be able to have a lot of very good games. They might be a fairly new duo, but they're both very experienced players who know what it's like to contend for the big titles. The only issue I see is Surge, but with a fast rotation method and also more freedom of positioning, they should be able to overcome that as well. As for a dark horse duo who I think could be the surprise of the tournament, I'll say Marco and Clinbury. I talked about Marco in a previous video about Rising Stars, and he duly went unqualified to the grand final, and I'm making a bold prediction of a top 10 for them. I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown of what's to come this weekend. Let me know who you think is going to win the final, and I'll see you next time.